Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Resident Evil 4. We're doing the Separate Ways extra content with the fan-made HD texture enabled. So we're in, I guess this is supposed to be a prison, but it's just like this one room. The island level design is just weird. Like we were in this military bunker section, very kind of reminiscent of like World War II bunker trench warfare. Trenches, I guess, more than bunkers. Bunkers mean something different. Trenches, yeah. And then you just kind of walk around and you see what looks like the entrance to maybe an ancient civilization's temple that you can't enter, that really should just be where this gap is. And then you walk around that a little bit more, and then you're in this prison. So, like, the island comes off as part prison, part military, military research facility, part laboratory. We've got our replicator here. I couldn't kill the replicator even if I tried, so because I don't have the internal infrared scope, so I would just have to pour a bunch of pour a bunch of bullets into it if it started attacking me. And that was an interesting... Can we jump down and show that again? This is an interesting way that they had to make her climb. Particularly, I think, because if she climbed normally, she would push up and pull up in such a way that her butt would just be right in front of the camera. Or, worse, this half-slit skirt, one-sided slit skirt, which, honestly, they probably should have shown her ripping that or cutting that at the very beginning of the game. Like, very possible you might just get a full upskirt on her, and it's not 100% guarantee she's wearing underwear. So instead, they zoomed the camera in when they did that. Let's do that one more time. Like, and then they cheat with the frames a little bit so that she does this impossible, like, one-handed forward flip. Like, real craziness there. And then you don't even really use that anywhere else, because she climbs in different ways in the other couple places you've seen it. Oh, and I guess we are going to get to fight Krauser, even though Leon supposedly killed him.
Oh, Krauser. I'm sorry. I jumped
So
the gun when I reported you dead to Wesker.
So there's like there should be a hole in this chest. There's another cutscene where they imply maybe an upskirt shot, but then they cut away.
Think of all the paperwork I would have to fill out if you were to show up alive.
So this puts you in a different position now, because let's see, do I want to try to use the shotgun or something else? You're in a different area. Yeah. And I question whether I could actually get the knife going. This may be best to just get a bead and fire on him. Just do this, then do this.
Come on.
And so she's hook-shotting again. Alright. Let's go ahead and use this. So, if he's got his shield up, it seems like you can't actually hurt him. And blowing yourself up only helps you so far. And notice if I didn't grab any of that stuff. Alright. Alright. Yeah. It just doesn't feel like this time you could really knife the guy. And this definitely just feels like they have really set you up to fail with a bad level design. Yeah. There's no environmental protection here or anything like that, so it is just it's really just setting yourself up to waste a whole bunch of resources.
That's a large thing you have there.
And it shows his arm shrinking down, almost as if
But I don't like it when men play rough.
He would show up in a later game. And introducing the idea that this Las Plagueis monsters might actually reduce the size of their gross appendages. I don't think that really does much for you. See, I succeeded, but I question the viability of going any further here, and maybe I should just load, because that was all of my grenades. We've gotten the last treasure, and this may just be the end of the game completely, because we may not really take on Sadler, and yeah, selling this probably doesn't give you anything. You would almost hope it was a case where the gold you have here would become a starter amount of gold that you would have in every future playthrough. And if you could play this game like multiple times, the separate ways section multiple times, then that would build up the starter money and help you. Or even if it was not just every new game, if it was just your amount of gold was shared between all save files, that would be fairly helpful. I'm not sure this area connects to anything else we've seen. Like, it doesn't quite feel like it is. A couple more bullets can only help you so far. And then the hook shot lets you leave.
Welcome. Got a selection of good things. What are you selling?
So yeah, you come over here. You sell this.
Thank you.
Don't sell anything else.
What are you buying?
We can't buy any bullets where it would have made some sense. We can buy a first aid spray. Yeah. So just a massive amount of 80,000 pesetas with nothing that you can do with them. Our health still would need like 2 yellows at minimum, and I just don't think I'm going to have 2 yellows. And instead she's hookshotting up this way, and I think it would have made more sense to show that. I guess the question here is, what can we get rid of? Like 5-2 here at 18 hours. I'm going to overwrite this one, and I'm going to keep the previous save just in case I run into a problem. But if this game was supposed to be a strategy where the game actually gets really, really hard at the end and you have to just be building up your reserves and bullets and ammo and
soon harbor an awesome
to defeat Sadler,
Yet it seems
most players would not realize that that's what the strategy
back,
was,
whether you like it or
and
not.
then they would end up dying.
The audacity of youth.
Remember, the weapons don't upgrade, so if I am supposed to just use the TMP here, that's pretty much all I'm going to be able to do. And there's definitely an argument here that his body just developed an immunity to being shot by the TMP, because he expels the bullets, not pushing them out of the holes they came in, but through his hand, and then he starts getting shot in the back with the TMP, and it doesn't even do anything.
Move! Let's go.
Like, he'll start being shot here, and it doesn't even break his stride. Just going right through him. And to have 2 boss battles back to back is really dumb. And certainly it's really, really dumb too. Really, really dumb to have Alright, so he's trying to do this whole arm here. Oops, I managed to hit the wrong button there and stab him in the face. Let's just see if we can unload on this guy. We can't kill him. The fact that he can just convert his arm into a whip and then doesn't do it in the final battle is interesting. Feels like there may very well have been a plan there. Yeah. Distance doesn't seem to help. We get an X prompt there, and then I just didn't move fast enough to use it. And see, that's probably about the halfway point. Alright. So he's gonna try and attack me. And I've got to try and just do a ton of damage. The fact that you can shoot the crossbow this close and not take damage yourself is a little surprising. Let's just try and keep it in line up here, nice and tight where he can't really run away. Okay. Alright. Okay. So, full health there wasted. Like, just this slams are doing nothing there. So I guess you fill him up with bullets and he'll start trying to machine gun you back with the bullets, and that's your time to go and slice him.
Thank you. This is going to be hard to explain at customs.
Arguably, maybe the slicing him did way more damage than anything else. And there's his phallic appendage. And that's... it just fades to black to show you her tied up at this point. Now, I don't know if we're actually playing any role in this cutscene at all, or in this fight.
Better try a new trick, cause that one's getting old.
If anything, we're gonna have to run from point A to point B to get to the special rocket launcher to throw it to Leon.
What's so funny?
Oh, I think you know. The American prevailing is
So at this rate, it does kind of look like we only had about 20 minutes left in this separate way section.
You entertain me. To show my appreciation, I will help you awaken from your world.
Which that was a slight concern I had at the end of the last recording, is that this would be a really short recording. But I think we don't have to worry about that too much. We still have to look at assignment Ada and figure out what that is. Although I wouldn't be surprised if it really is just very similar to this. It's just more levels where you play as Ada throughout the game. Weirdly, it seems like Ashley sees Ada at that point, and that may be like the very first point that she actually does see Ada. Alright, so we've got a real problem here as far as we've got to run and we've got to take no damage. And this definitely feels more like Wesker, or I wonder what would happen if I actually shot the explosion. The things she hook shots into are never like the things that you would think were firm enough to be the foundation of And one wrong move and I'm gonna die, so I really need to decide whether I am should use the there's a rocket launcher. All we're doing here is just running. We've got very little time left. Jump down here. No sound effects when we jump down.
Use this.
And so canonically, Leon does use the special rocket launcher, which doesn't do much. It's just this cutscene. But like, I think for that cutscene, you also have to actually hit the eye, or at least hit Sadler. It does speak to a lack of real challenge if you can just run
Leon.
through
Hand it
the
over.
entire last
Rydo,
section nearly
You do
dead.
know what this is.
There should have been more of a game there, more of a challenge there. Even if I had taken my time and collected all of the bullets and items, there needs to be a reward for collecting more
Don't
bullets and
worry.
items at
I'll
that point.
take good care of
And
it.
there really isn't.
Here, catch. Better get a move on. See you around.
Now there's still zero explanation as to why there is a Sea-Doo on the island at all. Like, that would have to be Lewis's Sea-Doo that she knew about and got the keys for. Or that she specifically set it up for Leon when nobody was looking. We have no idea who the helicopter pilot is and probably don't care. And you get the same ending as the main game where she is just flying off into the sunset. One assumes that there is some safety, some landmass towards the sunset that gets away from the village and away from the island. Which, in a lot of ways, that highlights just the ridiculousness of Sadler's plan, is that he really had managed to only control a small, in the middle of nowhere Spanish village with Las Plagas. He didn't manage to, say, take over the president of his own country or neighboring countries or anything like that. Even the police are not working with Sadler at the beginning that bring Leon into this area. So, yeah, he was definitely being fairly ridiculous. Would have made a lot more sense for the village to have been fully infected, tried to infect surrounding villages in the entire country first, spread along the lines of land masses. There you can see Leon and Ashley driving off, or Sea-Dooing off. But yeah, since the zombies the Las Plagas can only come out at night and they can mostly only walk, there's a real argument to not try to take over the United States, which is obviously across an ocean for this Eastern European country, which is where I assume it is. I mean, it would have made way much more sense to, if you're going to do this, move towards the east and infect all of Russia. Russia being a nuclear power, Russia being a lot of populace, work through Russia, infect all of Russia, then work your way down to infect China. If all of Russia and China was under control of Las Plagas, then you have two major nuclear powers. You could spread throughout all the Asians, very easily at that point. You could work your way into the Middle East, take over like Israel and get the nuclear powers there, spread through all of Europe, spread through all of Africa. And then once you have like control of pretty much half of the world or half of the world's land masses, then you would have a unstoppable army to go towards South America, Brazil, some of those countries, infect all of those places, and then work your way up from Mexico, or even infect Canada and work your way down. You could target America last, almost certainly, in a plan like that. Well, alright. Moving on. So the entire game of Separate Ways took only 5 hours and 3 minutes. Hit ratio 64%, which is pretty good. Enemies killed 351. I could have definitely gotten that up to a higher number. Times I died was 6 times. And I would say a lot of the times I died were somewhat justified, but somewhat also unjustified cheap kills. Let's see. Upload to the leaderboards. No. So now we can buy the Chicago typewriter from the merchant. Let's go ahead and save here. Alright. So, as far as a new round might happen for the main game, there is no new round for assignment Separate Ways. So there's just no reason after playing it once to ever play it again, unlike the main game. Let's see. Ada movie browser in that did not unlock anything new, but we do have the Separate Ways cutscenes being added as one. So this one that says no data, I have to assume means I missed a cutscene, but maybe I didn't. It could be the case that if I'd used the Super Rocket Launcher, let's see, here.
Use this.
There's that cutscene. And then the next cutscene is this. So you do unlock this cutscene even if you actively don't use the special rocket launcher. We'll go ahead and skip that. So then that kind of makes me just assume that I have unlocked all the videos. And there probably is no way that you could have missed any of the videos. Like, the only thing I could think is that there might just be a death sequence here where you would have fallen to your death that we didn't see. Let's see. The shooting into the lake cutscene. Yeah, if there was, I think that's an in-game cutscene, so that might be why it's not there. So either there is just no data, or I've missed 2 cutscenes. Either way, it doesn't seem like it really matters, and it doesn't seem like there was any way you could actually miss any of the Separate Ways cutscenes. And I guess inherently that also points out that whatever assignment Ada is, it's not anything.
It wasn't easy, but I'd say the mission.
But yeah, this is just all of this. if you want to see that again, which maybe somebody would want to see that. There are 2 achievements left. I know one is shooting the monster in the leg. So getting S rank on all the mercenaries is probably the other achievement. Let's go. New game. Professional.
Resident Evil 4.
Special 2, Special 1. Let's see Special 2 now. It was just called Special before. And this is Special 2. And there's like a special cutscene if you reload the infinite bullet Chicago typewriter on this. Alright. The problem, though, is that if you played through Professional and you got the Chicago typewriter for free, which I think you do, you're going to have to wait till you get to this point to get to the Merchant. So you'd have to play through this encounter on Professional, and then go all the way this way, and then go here. Then you have an infinite bullet TMP equivalent of the Chicago typewriter that you can use to kill practically every Ganado that is the lowest level in the game. And then that just leaves you collecting bullets and guns for bigger enemies. And bigger enemies is almost a big... It's not the best way to describe it, because there is also a case where stymieing somebody with the Chicago typewriter will also defeat a lot of the bigger enemies too. So practically anybody can be taken out with the Chicago typewriter. And with infinite bullets, it at that point does open up the door to playing around with some of these other guns that just would waste bullets like crazy. The problem, though, okay, so the Chicago typewriter is infinite bullets, but it is too expensive for anybody to realistically buy in the first part of a second round. It is the same million that you would have to spend as far as the infinite launcher. And if you had an infinite 10 damage at 0.1 firing speed with infinite bullets here, its reload speed doesn't actually matter. This combined with this would take out almost certainly every enemy in the game.
What are you buying?
But I thought you got one of those for free.
What are you buying?
We never did get that upgrade. So the game once again just really wants you to play a New Game Plus. If not 2 or 3 New Game Pluses. Yeah, I could have sold that for 30,000. And unfortunately, I just don't have time to play New Game Plus. So, yeah. I thought one of those was free, but apparently not. So, in a professional run, you would be starting with 0 pesadas. You'd probably have to play the entirety of the game very carefully to slowly build up to 1,000,000 pesadas in a professional run to unlock the Chicago typewriter. More than likely, I suspect you would only be able to get the Chicago typewriter or the infinite launcher after 2 or 3 runs, or at least after 2 runs, which that's a lot of commitment. You can't play separate ways, or Simon Ada, or the Mercenaries, which I don't know why you particularly are locking the mercenaries out, or any of this content out behind the main story, but it is kind of smart to make the player beat the game before unlocking things. Perhaps it would have been better if these were on the extras menu and they were said, this is locked until you beat the game on any difficulty, instead of just not telling the player that this content exists at all. At a certain level, I think the mercenaries in particular should be something unlocked, and perhaps the reward that you unlock you can only get in a new game plus. But even that doesn't really matter, because it's just all these rewards are going to be very expensive. So the question now is, what is assignment Ada? Here we have Ada in a very different tactical outfit, much more militaristic. It looks like she's still on the island. Her belly showing, which is different, certainly, instead of the legs. Her utility belt, Batman-like utility belt, does give this almost like bikini armor appearance to it. There's a lot around either a belt button or either a giant belt buckle or just material right in the front. Her legs have weird like bands around her leggings. I don't know what the idea around that is. And the image is blurred very badly, like in multiple directions. So is this a storyline canonical thing, or is this just something like the Mercenaries? Even extra.
Have you retrieved the sample?
Not yet.
Some kind of trouble?
Sadler. He knows.
Ah. Your extraction chopper will pick you up at the rendezvous point as planned.
I'll be there.
Those ears don't look particularly good. Her hair looks much more... her hair looks much different, less fancy, and the outfit looks less fancy. Collect 5 Plaga samples and head towards the rendezvous point. So... let's see what we've got. We've got a fully powered up Punisher this time. We have a fully powered up TMP. And we have a fully powered up semi-auto. Noticeably, they didn't change anything as far as the TMP and the semi-automatic rifle, because there just aren't that many options. Seems like we're not even going to get keys and treasures, so they might as well turn that off of the menu, but... And so, yeah, I question if this is a linear thing, or if this is a boss rush thing, or if this is a randomized thing. I could believe a lot there. I would be willing to believe that it's randomized. I would be willing to believe that it's just trying to do separate ways a second time, because separate ways skipped over some stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a situation where I wouldn't be surprised if there were actually 2 teams given the same task. Is that the guy with Leon's coat? Do these guys not drop anything? That wouldn't work. Yeah, I suppose if there were two teams given the same task, and now you can see how the kick really is kind of pointless. And then one was just taking longer than the other to finish the task, they would have released half of a product in separate ways as an extra in reselling Resident Evil 4. In a lot of ways, it does come off like there was a lot of development and production budget around whatever a Resident Evil 5 may have been, or around adding extra content to Resident Evil 4. This would have been a good opportunity to potentially introduce some stealth thoughts. That didn't work. I guess the question is, if I jump over, I don't think I'm quite well situated for taking on large people. And yet, that's exactly what this game is going to try and do for us. This is not working well. This may be a much more difficult section. Just in that it may not really give you bullets. Yeah. And we may just have no hook shot at this point. See if we can hit this guy quickly. It's just a lot of people. Maybe the idea here really is to not take it slow and strategic like all the other games, or all the other versions of this game, but to instead actually, well, the game's acting wonky again. I have had this game running for a little too long. The wonkiness definitely does feel like it happens when you are laying on the A button and off of the A button to dash. Is there anything more to take here? A yellow herb. This may very well be a case where we never get red herbs. And we're probably not going to get upgrades. I'm a little surprised if the general idea, though, is to just collect the Lost Plaga samples, that they wouldn't, that there wouldn't be more of a timer playing here, and that this whole thing would be high tension. You've got to get through it fast. Although that would be also fairly frustrating. But yeah, you can definitely tell there's a shortage of bullets here. Where are we going on the map? Right where we are. Hey, there is a red herb. Well, by all means, match that up. While we're at it, reload that. Alright. So the game continues. We could wait. I feel like I'm hitting him a couple times there. In a funny way, I guess this is almost an experiment on what would the game have felt like and looked like if there just were no upgrades and there were no things to purchase, and the merchant just wasn't a factor. Like, no matter what you did, the merchant just wouldn't have been there. I didn't shoot fast enough. Alright, well, should be fairly okay. He'll just slowly work his way around. Do you want to wait for him to come around, or can he actually not find his way around? I don't think he can actually find his way around. They are definitely making much more of a opportunity to show the climbing animation now, as we're doing more. And we are out of bullets again. Yeah, I have to question whether a sniper rifle shot would have been better in that sequence. I could have sworn that there was something here, but I guess not. Like, I hear more people moving around, but I don't see them. Darn it. And that guy is kind of more armored than I would have thought. It almost feels like the move here would be for this game to, this mode to have a kind of backwards and forwards action to it, where we would go back to the beginning where we started to look for the, like, it's not even worth trying. But yeah, if the sample only got dropped by just a random enemy after your 100th kill, or if you just had to go back and forward, this does create a very different situation or style of play, in that you're not doing anything here. Like, the shopkeeper is missing, there's no spinels. People sneaking up behind you is slightly different. I wouldn't say massively different. Now have 2. That is not what I wanted to do. And arguably, I think the game may be at a level where even now I should just go ahead and refill my health, even though I have only a small amount of damage. I kind of have to wonder if the accuracy on guns changes based on whether you're zoomed in or not, also, because it does just kind of seem like you can guarantee more of a headshot. So he's just going to take a pot shot on me and then hide. See, it looks like that would blow his head off, but I'm not sure that always does. And honestly, this is probably fine to use. How is this differentiating itself, though? You have to ask that question, because it doesn't feel like it's any different. You have a ladder here where you can climb up, and a door that's locked. So maybe this will take us to a slightly different location, but honestly it doesn't seem like it is going to. It seems like you're just climbing through the air ducts. Again, this almost comes off like there was 2 different teams that we're getting the wonkiness again. Yeah, it comes off like there was just 2 different teams who had 2 different ideas. I don't think I'm gonna run into a save spot. And so instead of leaving something on the cutting room floor, pancakes would work, and maybe it would make a lot more sense to use them. They just tried to redo it again. At a certain level, you can't blame Capcom that much for reselling the same product multiple times with just slight variations, because it worked. Like, people were rabidly happy with that. Was one of those weird Dead Zone style it reloaded when I didn't press the button. Maybe this is blood. It kind of looks like a map. So yeah, how can I really blame Capcom for saying, hey, let's give you Resident Evil 4 or some of Resident Evil 4 all over again, and change barely anything, but change enough to call it new content. Really wish I could find the save file, because if I could, I would take the opportunity to exit out of the app. If anything, I suspect that this entire setup, wow, we have treasures and we didn't have to buy a treasure map. Yeah, but maybe the treasures are the 5 samples. Anyways. Yeah, that would be my guess as to what's going on here. Alright, so I'm kind of screwed in a couple different ways. I need to go potentially through here and get the to the correct thermal scope, I bet. Because I'm probably going to run into regenerators. If I don't run into a regenerator, which would be slightly surprising, then I am just going to run into other bullet drainers. So that was a plague sample. Let's look at the map here. Yeah. So each of the treasures is a plague sample. So I do know what we're doing. And I do know how we're going about this. And there are not going to be any saves. So I think we probably should just do what I'm constantly trying to avoid and constantly doing regardless, which is having a 2-hour long episode here instead of an hour-long episode. I could pause the game, but with this wonkiness, if it crashes, I might as well just let it crash live. Let's see. Can I shoot through this glass? Yes, I can. I've said it before, but it's worth pointing out, this has been a game where I've not really been much of a video game critic. There's not a lot of criticism that I can think of to say about a game that I just love so much. Let's go ahead and use this just to just to highlight that it doesn't increase your health more if you use it at full health. Honestly, that kind of felt like it may have not even increased my health at all. But yeah, I'm a sucker for this game. I love it. Lots of people love it. It's real hard to say anything negative. The fire extinguishers don't explode. Like, Resident Evil 4 Remake has a lot of pressure on it, certainly, to be a good game. And there's a lot of expectations that if they are going to remake Resident Evil 4, it has to be not only as good as Resident Evil 4, but it also has to be way better. The fan-made 4K HD textures makes this game very playable, even though we are right on the verge of potentially never playing it again. Oh, we have to actually hold each sample in our inventory, so our storage is going to get smaller and smaller, which that inherently limits how big this whole mission could be. But not really a big problem. It sounds kind of like the music is going to constantly loop backwards and forwards here. Where did that guy come from? I imagine all you can do is examine these. Do the quick turnaround. Let's go ahead and equip one of these. Shoot. I'm just going to go ahead and hit him in the bed. Hit him in the butt where he's not armored. Although he is oddly armored in a lot of places. There is, I believe, one explosive barrel somewhere that I could have shot. We're gonna have to just lean heavily on the TMP. This definitely feels even more like cutting room content. Or, like, best case scenario, there is some new team at Capcom that they said, we're gonna let you make some Resident Evil 4 content, and we'll sell it as an extra thing so the quality doesn't have to be that good. See, I'm thinking if I line these guys up just right, I might be able to hit through the head and hit two at one time. Alright. Now we're screwed. That's not gonna help. Desperate attempts to save my life. Failing there. Yeah. I don't know what to do. I don't have enough bullets to really take them on. I feel like one single shot is gonna kill me, and I think if I die, I start all over again. So just jump down here. Yeah. So let's see where the continue puts us. Alright. So it does give us a continue. Thank goodness for that. You can't control the mechanics here. So the trick here is not to get two in a row like I did. The trick is to get that guy in the head a couple of times. He goes back to like specific spots, it seems. Alright. Stop hitting me. Alright. Is that a case where the game got easier? Maybe. Maybe not. It's hard to tell. The game may have gotten easier. Or the game... I may have just played the game a little bit better in that I actively targeted the highest priority character first. It's questionable though whether we can do too much more. Let's take this. Like, this game inevitably is going to start falling apart pretty badly. And no amount of help potentially is going to save me if I start to run into just larger and larger groups of enemies that are hell-bent on killing me. It seems like it's actually a mistake to operate that instantaneously, and you're better off taking a bit of a breather. And it seems like that's the case in the main game too. And that's just an odd lesson to try to teach the player, because every other time you run into a scenario like that, you're way better off just activating it at your leisure. There almost certainly was a item to pick up inside these cabinets, but they are not opening this time. We are short on every kind of bullet. We're high on grenades, which maybe you save those for a potential boss fight, or maybe you waste them. There's another health upgrade, and I'm really at this point regretting that I used one of those health upgrades. What I realize I'm doing now is I'm hitting the A button expecting it to pick up items when it doesn't, and instead I am just supposed to hit the X button. So I'm hitting the A button 2 or 3 times. Yeah, 2 or 3 times I'm hitting the A button before I finally give up and hit the X button. There's almost certainly somebody here, because you can hear the sound effects. The sound effects in this game are pretty great. And so in the remake, I imagine we will want, if not really, really good sound effects, possibly amazing sound effects. Things that would not really be focused on, like 5.1, 7.1, 9.2 type sound effects. I could imagine that is the level you would want. Or something that would be equivalents to those, where it's just full surround and much more environmentally focused. Almost every game kind of has that, but they are used minimalistically, because the default assumption still is that most people have stereo at best. Like well, in all fairness, I don't think there's really that many people out there listening to video game sound effects in mono, but it can be really low quality stereo TV speakers. If anything, a lot of TV speakers have gotten worse over the years. Here we go. The move, almost certainly, is to put the Las Plagas down. And we are just out of room. So definitely use the TMP, because we've got too much ammo now. There's no new level design here, and these encounters hardly feel that different. I guess if I can find a yellow I should consider. Interesting. There was, I think, a room here, but it's blocked off. Maybe there wasn't a room there. If I could find a yellow, I would take a red instead of having two green greens, but I guess maybe we'll just have to come back. We may have to run through the entire game. Anyways, by all means, take a bead and throw. Alright. And I'm just gonna pour bullets into this guy. Seriously, hit him. First aid spray. And now these guys open the door for me. Definitely hear more people coming. My health is not particularly good, but then arguably we may not have to have our health that good either. There's like two more small sections here. This is a potential section also where it would have just made sense to potentially have a regenerator chasing you from the beginning of the game. Nothing in here. Breaking that. Maybe we can get a sniper shot. I don't think so. Take that. And that with that. And if you have a red and yellow, you cannot consume it, so you always need a green. We could potentially try and save some bullets here, but I don't see a value in that. I could try to use my handgun and potentially headshot people. We have another explosive thing. Interesting. Apparently we're going to do something with the security control panel later. Right. Sniper rifle. TMP ammo. Handgun ammo. And again, that very much feels like a vertical slice where you just have everything by default. On the same shelf. Sorry, I paused there as I was talking. just to show off all the different collectibles. Take the Las Plagas sample and get locked in. Alright, so we can't go through that door. And I think that works fairly nicely. Here's a very dark security panel that fairly obviously they never had really any intention on doing anything with. We can just wait here. So, a little bit of strategy and level layout and design here, but perhaps not enough. Yeah. I don't know how to address this other than to try and run and do this and then throw this and just hope that that doesn't kill me. At a certain point, I probably could just run anyways. Is there anybody here? Nope. And see, this is the, I think, part of the weirdness here, is that this, if I recall, takes us to the radio tower, which you just don't do anything with that in the main game, and I kind of wonder if it even existed in the GameCube version of the game. And it's not until the second DLC happens that there's even a slight potential of you doing anything with it, with the tower being the way it is. Yeah, and if I get my health all the way up to the maximum, what does that even matter? Like, we're right at the end of the game. I assume we've got a maybe fight with Krauser. I wouldn't be surprised if he jumps down and attacks me down here. Yep. Okay. It's just dodge, dodge, dodge. So if the idea was to, like, we can't do anything, so this is just another awkward area. Yeah. So it's just another awkward fight with Krauser in an awkward, unfinished place that obviously shouldn't have ever been a boss fight. And yeah, there's kind of nothing else to do. Take the Las Plagas sample, assume go up here to the elevator, and then assume that's assignment Ada. it's said and done, unless we're going to fight Krauser in the tiny room. Which, if we have to fight Krauser in the tiny room, that would be weird. But not out of line with the other two fights we've done. And almost certainly this is an alternate history experience. What would have happened, I guess, maybe if Leon wasn't even in the game?
Punctual. I like that. Is Krauser there?
He's dead.
Pity. But after all, just another expendable grunt. Thanks to you, however, Umbrella
Subtitles still jump around.
to its re-establishment.
Subtitles look
And
crazy
once
in
it
this
is,
game.
there will be significant changes in our world.
So again, that's, I guess, maybe teasing Resident Evil 5, bringing back Umbrella. Because I guess up until this point, after the events of Resident Evil 1, you are effectively... Interesting, she was wearing fishnets in that cutscene. That's not the way she looked, I thought, in the main game. So this might be a different cutscene than what is actually shown. That at some point they did maybe add some censorship and add some fishnets. Oh, no, what's happening here is she's not wearing the same outfit. She's wearing a different outfit, and we're watching the cutscenes with another special outfit that I guess maybe we would unlock. Although, at what point would you be able to really use it? Maybe if you go with the special outfit 2 in the main game, whenever you see her, you'll see her in this different outfit. Yeah. And it's a different music, certainly, that you're hearing in the credits as we watch the same cutscenes. But these look good still. So they're not the awful pre-rendered cutscenes. Yeah, this I assume was the last bit of extra content added to Resident Evil 4, after which point all the future ports. Let's go with no there. Start a game with separate ways, clear file, and you can buy the Chicago typewriter from the merchant. Don't understand what that means, but let's see if we can figure it out. So exit, separate ways, load. There is no separate ways clear file. Cancel that. So how far would we have to go if we skip this to get to the merchant? We'd have to get through this area and then this area. No, we just would have to get through this area. So, let's see what we can do here. Notice that didn't ask us to change our outfit or anything like that. The hook shot. Seems like you trigger something as soon as you go in the room. And how can we trigger the next part? Is it a matter of time, or is it a matter of locations? I doubt it's a matter of square footage. No. So yeah, it does seem like maybe you just have to go through a couple of buildings and then you can hookshot up to get to this, which this really highlights how if you don't really want to play the game, yeah, don't really have to play the game. You can run and dodge fairly well. And almost certainly that is some players' experience of the main game and the side content, is that you would just
Welcome.
cheat and run and avoid
Got
conflict.
a selection of good things on sale, stranger. What are you buying?
Yeah, the Chicago typewriter isn't here.
Come back
So
anytime.
that's not what it meant for doing assignment Ada. Doesn't let you do separate ways, which in all fairness, if it did let you do separate ways, I don't think you would really get much out of that, having the Chicago typewriter in that section. And yeah, there's just no loading at all in assignment Ada, so you're not going to get any prompt for this. Yep. I guess even if I had saved in some places, I could have potentially retried from a checkpoint. So that doesn't unlock anything new under the extras. If we go to normal, we still only have professional mode here. The only thing that possibly would have changed is if I load this one more time, maybe there would be a different costume. Doesn't seem like it. Seems like there's only 3.
Rare things on sale. What are you
Or
buying?
maybe there would be a cheaper price. And that doesn't seem like that's the case either. So it almost feels like assignment Ada was either a second way in which you can unlock Chicago typewriter, or it was just telling you that you have to finish separate ways. Yeah, it's crazy to have 2 extra things where you play as Ada when you could have potentially at least had a skin change on assignment Ada where you played as Ashley, or where you played as Luis, or where you played as Krauser. Potentially even playing as the bad guys would make a lot of sense. And there's just none of that here. So that would be something I would like to have seen in the remake, is to be able to play as many of the other characters. There's a Krauser, at least, I think, has enough of a full attack set to justify being played as, or Ada throughout the entire game, where she saves Ashley. Even if the cutscenes looked exactly the same or the dialogue was exactly the same, that would work too. Yeah, and so that's going to be it for the series. I can't justify spending the time at this point to playing on professional and starting over, regardless of the fact that I could potentially buy the Chicago typewriter after I've gotten 1,000,000 pesetas, which would almost be at least 2/3 of the way through the entire game, saving up all your money, or upgrading a bunch of guns and then selling the guns through the process. That would probably be the most efficient way to do that. But actually, that financially may be not efficient. But it might be the only way you really could do it unprofessional. And then there's no reason to play New Game Plus. Those two concepts really needed to be combined, where you could play professional on New Game Plus and enjoy the fruits of your labor with this whole setup. And I would say, arguably, the best way to play this game is to get a 100% save file where everything on the mercenaries has already been done on rank S. I probably could get rank S on all the mercenaries and unlock all the other characters, but why bother to do that, to struggle and have every little misstep rubbed in your face, basically, just to play as a new character to have a higher challenge. There's not enough meat on the bone of the concept of mercenaries for that to work. And it has never worked in any of the other games where they've tried to sell Resident Evil as a skill-based challenge experience. Noticeably, Resident Evil 5 doesn't have any mercenary modes. Resident Evil 5 does not have a separate ways. It does not have an assignment ADA, and Resident Evil 5 works fine as a game without all of that. I think the main game of Resident Evil 5 is a lot longer. There's a lot more areas. I don't think the story is as good. I don't think the controls are as good. I still would say Resident Evil 4 is much better than Resident Evil 5, but even Resident Evil 5 is way better than Resident Evil 6. So yeah, I lost my train of thought there, but some of this extra content certainly could have been left on the cutting room floor in favor of us getting Resident Evil 5 faster. Assignment Ada would have worked a lot better in Resident Evil 5 anyways, because then you would have a experience on the island where you don't actually do anything in the island. In Resident Evil 5 you're in Africa, so that would lead towards it almost being a prequel demo experience towards Resident Evil 5. And Separate Ways 2 could have been as part of Resident Evil 5 to remind people of Resident Evil 4, but that would have been a dangerous gamble that they would have lost, certainly if you reminded people of Resident Evil 4, because they probably would have just gone back and played it again. Fingers crossed, I hope the remake is good. It is not out as of the recording, but it very possibly will be out by the time this airs. And yeah, fingers crossed I'll get around to playing it fairly quickly. I should once again point out that Windows 10 introduced the micro-stuttering issue in this game, where you have to go into the exe file, find it under like C program files, Steam apps. It's either Steam or Steam apps, and then it would be Resident Evil 4, and then under that, like, I think it's 32bin, and then there's something re4.exe or something like that. I don't know the exact names of the folders, but you find that, and you have to right click it, and you have to go to compatibility, and you have to click disable full screen optimizations. Otherwise you will almost certainly get the micro stuttering issue. This game hasn't run perfectly, but it's run well enough with the RE4 tweaks by the fans. It's looked amazing because of the RE4 texture mods. Having a bigger field of view in the game made it feel a lot more like a more modern game, even though the controls didn't really get improved that much. Having the dead zone lowered was helpful a little bit, not as much as I would like it to be, though. And yeah, I guess that's got to be it for this series. I just don't have enough time to play professional or do a new round plus. There really isn't a good argument to do a new round plus anyways. It would just be to get money to unlock the Chicago typewriter, which you might as well spend the time just starting over again with the professional mode if you're going to do that. But why do any of that? I don't think I'm going to get all the achievements for this game, though. One of the achievements, there are 2 left. One of the achievements is shooting the monster in the lake and getting that cutscene, which is not worth it to really show off. And the other achievement, I think, is getting S rank on all the mercenaries, which that would take too much time to invest in. Anyways, Steam doesn't really do anything if you get all the achievements anyway, so it doesn't really matter. That's going to be it for this series. I have on my YouTube page a playlist tab that shows all the playlists that I've made, and I have a playlist for every game I've ever played, which makes it very convenient to potentially go back and watch my RE5 coverage or my RE6 coverage, even though I would almost steer you away from that because those were not particularly great games. If you've never played Resident Evil 4 before, there's definitely an argument to getting the original game, putting on the fan-made HD patch, and getting a 100% save file, and just starting with the Chicago typewriter in your inventory without having to pay for it in a New Game Plus. But that's about all you can do at the moment because of RE4 Remake being on the horizon. Now, if RE4 Remake comes out and it's garbage, then people will obviously go back and play the original, and people will probably play the original after playing the remake anyways out of nostalgia. It'll probably take, even if RE4's remake was perfect, it would probably take 5 to 10 years before an entire generation decided that they preferred the remake over the original and that the original was no longer relevant or worth playing. I think it's also worth mentioning that RE7 takes the whole Resident Evil series in a different direction, being much more of a horror game. And that seems to be the direction that they're going forward with the numbered series. So even an RE4 remake is not going to bring us back to the hokiness of Umbrella and Wesker. Like that chapter is going to be wrapped up almost certainly. Anyways, I was trying to wrap up. Yeah, I have a playlist for every game I've ever covered. Check out some other games, I'd say, before watching RE4 or RE5. Check out The Evil Within. One of the creators of Resident Evil 4, I believe, or one of the Resident Evil games, went on to make The Evil Within. And The Evil Within is weird, I would say. Worth watching, worth playing once, but not really better than RE4, and not really consistent in any way. It tries to be both too horror themed and too action themed at the same time, and sci-fi themed, and the levels just jump all over the place. So it just doesn't come off as polished a product as RE4 does. And that probably just highlights that there was a whole team that made RE4, not just one director. And then The Evil Within 2 got handed off to a completely different director, person in charge, and The Evil Within 2 went again in a very different direction and became less and less similar to Resident Evil. It's weird that there aren't more games sort of like Resident Evil. It's amazing how many things people liked that were in RE4 and didn't get copied into other games. Like the inventory management minigame didn't get copied into anything. Is that because there's some kind of weird patent that Capcom holds? Maybe, but I've never heard any evidence to that fact. That would be probably impossible to hold up in court, to have a patent for Tetrising inventory into RE4. And even if that was the case, then why is that system not in RE5 or RE6 really? But yeah, nobody copied that. Nobody copied the idea of well thought out level design where there are items to pick up. Maybe some RPG games out there, some more fantasy games, have the general idea of there being a cache of weapons in the same spot in every game's run instead of things being randomly placed, but not the idea that the entire world is just over flooded with overfilling. Oh, well, yeah, it's just full of items and collectibles to find, spinels and bracelets and treasures, and combining treasures together to make the treasures more valuable. Even weapon upgrades are, frankly, fairly rare in games these days. Part of that, I imagine, is because they want the guns to be balanced for multiplayer, so being able to have RPG elements where you upgrade your guns doesn't make a lot of sense. In a funny way, Fallout as a series might be the closest competitor to Resident Evil 4, because at least in Fallout you do have weapons that you can repair, and weapon damage, and there are locations where there are collectibles. But then Fallout is much more of an RPG game, where this is not an RPG game at all, really. It has RPG elements, but it's an action game first and foremost. I wouldn't even call it an action horror game. Horror games always are a niche and they don't sell as well, so it's not super surprising that there wasn't a ton of Resident Evil ripoff horror games, but it is fairly surprising that first-person shooters didn't copy more of these ideas. And maybe at a certain level, what happened is, I'd have to run the dates, but I wouldn't be surprised if by the time Resident Evil 4 came out on the GameCube, there was too much focus on something like GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. A previous generation of just first-person shooter games and multiplayer being a focus, and the momentum to make the next GoldenEye, which nobody really did that either, or the next Quake game of a previous generation, that must have focused developers' attention more than Resident Evil 4 as far as copycats were concerned, or people getting ideas and borrowing them. And then eventually, I imagine Resident Evil 4 ran into Halo, and then once Halo became super popular, then everybody was looking to copy Halo, which Halo does have some parallels. There are some skulls I know in Halo that you can find. There are a heavy emphasis on action and running and gunning in Halo. But yeah, it's amazing how non-influential RE4 is when it really should have had a whole bunch of copycat games. Even other like Japanese horror games, even now, are not really trying to do what Resident Evil did. I guess maybe they set the bar too high and everything else would have just looked pale in comparison. Yeah, anyways, though, I'm rambling on. Let's end this series. As always, I once again ask you to like, share, and subscribe this video. Like and share this video and subscribe to my channel, because YouTube wants people to do that, and I could certainly benefit quite a bit by having more subscribers. Generally, I beg for people to get all their friends just to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get a push to be over 1,000 subscribers so I could get a few pennies on pre-roll ads. I don't want to run mid-roll ads, but any reward for the effort I put into these series would be appreciated. And then comment down below if you have anything to say, because that again promotes my videos. In general, I would like to see YouTube become a much better place where people share and promote videos that have more comment on it, and commentary, criticism, and aren't just people saying nothing or going completely silent and it's just no dialogue. Here's the gameplay footage. that being said, I can't really claim that this series was particularly good about having that consistent criticism that I usually try to put in the game coverage, because I just love this game too much and I'm blinded by my love by it. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down to different services in the description, which that may change at any time as far as which websites I'm actually posting to and not, because who knows where that's going to go. And then if you want to support me even further than doing all of that, there's a link to my Patreon, which is sometimes up, but often is shut down. But you can click on that and see if it's up and donate to that. Or you could just friend me on Steam and gift me a gift card, or gift me a game off my wish list, or even just a game you'd like to see me cover. No promises I will cover it anytime soon if you gift me a game, but me owning it is definitely the first step to me playing it. That's going to be it for this series. As always, thank you for watching. Have a good evening.